Here is this week's installment of Ezekiel Kralen's interminable story about the two little dogs. Tonight's installment is titled Judgmental Assholes. Ezekiel Kralen wrote, Email correspondence, June 7th, 2023. Subject, Deke's visit this morning. Short but sweet. Continued. Date, June 7th. So I watered and fed the furry pixies, provided them with a full can of doggy stew in each of their bowls this time, along with my standard double handful of kibble in case they were that hungry. They weren't, but Deke said they'll eat the rest later and took it with him. He did mumble a couple of snarky remarks during this meetup, but I brushed him off, knowing he's just testing my emotional stability, as he did during our meetup some days back, which went something like this. You're scared of the world, he taunted. You hardly step out, don't go anywhere. You're afraid to have anyone visit you. You never dine out but eat your Jewish meals alone in your crummy old dump. You're afraid of germs, don't want to be in crowds or go to parties. Instead of reacting with hackles raised, I calmly replied, I'm too poor to eat out. If I did, I wouldn't be able to afford giving you a chunk of my money every month. And where can I hang out if I don't have any moolah to throw around? And I'm sick of coffee houses. They bore me. No one talks to each other. I paused then to see if he'd say anything more. He did not. So I finished with, but most importantly, I'm home almost all the time, so I can be here for you. Oh, I see, he retorted. So it's all my fault. Of course it is, I countered with a chortle. But it makes me glad to do that. Anyway, it's a great honor and a pleasure, especially when it comes to the doggies. Besides, I love writing my tales, browsing the internet, learning so many new things, and communicating with amazing people around the world right there in my humble little sanctuary. So I'm a really happy camper these days, in spite of my world being so small. Put that in your bubble pipe and smoke it. He didn't rant any further, I think because it was just another test, and perhaps my kind response touched his heart. As the hour hand approached 11, he told the dogs they're going now, wished me a lovely day with many thanks for my kindness, and off they went. I think back to his tiny cabin, as I suspect my darling trio spent the night outside. What makes this pleasant meet-up so victorious in my eyes is that is exactly how I thought he'd behave, now that I've made this breakthrough that was triggered by my LARC adventure to reach full blossom barely a week ago. Assuming he's one of my bodhisattva guardians, of course, who sensed my changes for the better, my fine-tuning to the point where I truly do not worry about anything anymore, because in full awareness of the new and wonderful reality that is my soul's rebirth into Avalon. In sum, it's all blueberries and cream from here on in, and forevermore. Zeke K. Holmes. P.S. So does this mark the end of my Brindlekin Tales? Hardly. They've only just begun. Woof, woof, arf, arf, bow, wow, and yip. Re Groxwer Outlet, not Dollar General, to MCN discussion, date June 7th evening, on June 7th at 8:20, Alden Foul Pinhead Hope Squunked. Thank you for posting my excellent and well-considered comments on the homeless welfare state. You even make it worse by handing your friend cash that goes directly into the pocket of the drug dealer. You are being played, you know it and don't want to think about it, hence your childish screaming and yelling. I replied, you're an idiot, Alden, and heartless to boot. My homeless friend Deke has drastically reduced his selling and smoking meth over the past few months. I'm sure he will drop the habit entirely and cease selling product. The whole idea of giving him an allowance is to put my unconditional faith in him without judgment that he will eventually clean up his act. And he is. These things take time, years, and you have to find someone who shows that kind of potential. If you choose to do homeless outreach on a one-to-one level, it's like making an investment, only instead of investing in, say, stock or a business, it's investing in a human being. He acquired a tiny cabin in January, and that has helped in a big way thanks to those who run it who take the same non-judgmental approach as I do, but it took many months for me to persuade him to seek long-term shelter. So when he finally got that cabin, it was like a miracle. The other reason I give him money is to make sure he visits me frequently, that I may see how the dogs are doing and encourage him to take better care of them. And he is, though with a few more rough edges to smooth out. The pups are happy, healthy, and put so much joy into my life and that of others, including other residents of this tiny cabin village. In other words, very healing for them. And the pooches love their new digs. You were right when you learned that these two darling mutts came into my life. You said, love has come my way. Did you forget that? And as a result, they have transformed my world incredibly, and so much for the better. And who brought these sweet little doggies to me? A drop-out, drug-addicted loser who did the nicest thing to me that anyone in my life has ever did. Trust me, has ever done. I'm sorry, I'm going to start that sentence again. Who did the nicest thing to me that anyone in my life ever has, trusting me with his pups and sharing them. So that's his saving grace, and it counts for a lot. In some, it is because of judgmental assholes like yourself that perpetuates intolerance, hatefulness, and persecution against the houseless. You live a selfish life, more than you realize. Your own twisted perspective on life inspires you to turn wicked on those less financially fortunate than your own pathetic self. Am I right? Ms. Too Biased Woo-hoo. To be continued.